Welcome to the Parenting Power Podcast, supporting parents with the real-life tools they need to raise the confident, interdependent people the world needs. Gail Bell and Julie Friedman-Smith interview experts who share their knowledge to assist parents in creating a home environment where kids can thrive.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Beaner's Fun Cuts for Kids hair salons. Parenting is hard, haircuts shouldn't be. Visit beanersfuncuts.com for a location near you.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Real Life Parenting Podcast. This is Julie Friedman-Smith.
And I'm Gail Bell.
Our guest today is Lori Mihalich-Levin. Lori believes in empowering new working parents. She is the author of Back to Work After Baby, How to Plan and Navigate a Mindful Return from Maternity Leave, and creator of the Mindful Return Maternity Leave e-course. She is the mother of two boys, aged 6 and 8, and is the maternity leave expert at Motherly and a partner in the healthcare practice at Dentons US LLP. Lori, we are so excited to talk with you and learn more from you today. Welcome.
Hi, Julie and Gail. Thank you so much for including me in your important work, and I'm delighted to be here as well.
Lori, tell us a little bit more about your book, Back to Work After Baby.
Sure thing, Gail. The book was definitely an outgrowth of my own experience returning to work after maternity leave after both of my boys. And the book itself is divided up into the 4 themes that I advocate make for a much more calm and successful transition back to work after you have a child. And those 4 themes are, first, a mindful mindset for going back to work. So that section of the book is really all about how not to go off the rails from a mental perspective when you're going back. Strategies around self-care and anxiety and new parenthood and developing a sense of perspective and a gratitude practice. The second section in the book is all about the logistics of returning. It's all the working mom ninja tricks that help you get through the day and the week around pumping and not pumping, around negotiating flexible schedules, around putting your food on your own table at night even. The third section of the book is all about leadership in the space of return and viewing your maternity leave and return as a leadership opportunity rather than a career ender. It's talking about how to grow your team, how to take credit for all the work that you did to promote a really smooth and well-oiled transition plan, and how to step into the space in your office of being a working parent leader. And then the last part is all about staying in community and not isolating yourself, crying on the kitchen floor alone like I did far too many times, and really how to build that village that you need to support you so that you can thrive at home and thrive in your career.
Each of those pillars makes so much sense for all of us who have done this trip a few different times. And the community one, of course, is so critical for all parents, because there are so many times where it's easy to find yourself feeling like you're the only person going through whatever it is you're facing as a parent, whether it's food being thrown on the floor or your teenager being disrespectful to you or whatever it is. Why is this happening to me? What am I doing wrong? And Gail and I talk about this a lot with Parenting Power, is that we need to establish community so that we know that we're not alone, and people who are safe and around us that we can be vulnerable with and be authentic with and reveal what's going on. And because the moment we do that, we find out that, oh my gosh, that just happened to my friend last week, or we're not nearly as alone as we feel, for sure.
Yeah, there's so much power in that sense of me too. Oh my gosh, me too. And I find that whatever feeling or thought, even the crazy ones that run through our heads, if you're having it, you can bet 90% of the other new moms are having that same thought too.
Yeah, absolutely. An article that you wrote recently focuses on strategies for calming working moms' anxiety and worry. And you mentioned both setting time limits around worrying and journaling as 2 strategies. Can you expand on those strategies for our listeners, please?
Sure. So the time limits one was something that I had done previously around anger and sadness. And really the concept is first that you're identifying the feeling. Maybe here it's fear or anxiety or worry about some particular thing. So you have to name it first and identify it, and then giving it some space and some time to work its way through whatever it needs to work through in your own head. And so I find that if I call it to the front of my mind rather than having it sort of run in the background and take over my thoughts, and I give it a defined time period, like, okay, fine, I'm going to get nervous and worked up about this upcoming work trip I'm going on, but I'm going to feel nervous about it until I get dressed and get out the door. And then when I get out the door, I commit to myself to not worrying about it for the rest of the day. Then I find that I can handle it in a much more productive way because I've given it its own space. I've let it breathe. I've sort of held that feeling for a little while, and then I can move on.
Mm-hmm. That's really important. And that just totally complements what we say at Parenting Power, where we're always encouraging parents to help identify their own feelings and help children identify their own feelings by acknowledging their feelings and labeling it for kids. So children are allowed to understand that feelings are real. It's not something we push away like, oh, don't be scared, right? No, you're scared. Now let's talk about it and strategies you can do to get over it. And the time limit is so fantastic because we often have parents say, oh, they just want to go on and on and on about that. And again, that's another strategy we give parents is we'll let them talk about it, but say, okay, we're going to talk about this for the next 10 minutes and strategize, and then we're going to move on. So that is super helpful that you're talking with moms as well, or parents in general, about they can do it too, right?
Yeah, it's a great skill for all of us, I think, parents and children.
It's really good.
The second strategy that I mentioned in that piece was about journaling. And I don't know if either of you have given journaling a try, but for me, when I sit with a blank page in a journal and just start writing about whatever it is I'm worried about, new ideas and different angles through which to look at the problem always pop up. I'm always sort of amazed that just putting the pen to paper and getting out what I'm feeling and what I am trying to sort through can always lead to new ideas. It can help me resolve things that seem lingering and open-ended. And it also is a way of sort of providing a dedicated space to deal with the topic and then closing my journal, closing the book and moving on to the next thing.
Yes, so it's putting space and time around that. And in fact, we have a Parenting Power journal for parents. So we completely believe in that idea.
Laura, you mentioned two other strategies. First, take decisive action, as well as lose yourself in happy endeavors. Both are so important. Can you share some concrete examples?
Sure. So in terms of taking decisive action, one example that I know I struggled with whenever I found out that I was pregnant, was going to have a child, was daycare, right? So where is the child going to go? And in Washington, D.C., where I live, there are wait lists 10,000 miles long. And so my what if worry that kept coming up was, what if we don't get into a daycare? What if there's no space? What if there's no spot for him? What if we can't afford it? What if, right? And so the decisive action that my husband and I decided to take there was first to schedule a tour one time per month during my pregnancy of a different daycare. So go in and actually physically meet the people and then write them letters. And when the baby arrived, we wrote a note to each of the daycares we really liked. We included a photo of our little baby. Here are some concrete action steps we can lobby them rather than sitting around and wondering if we're just going to rise from number 250 on the wait list to the top in the amount of time that we need to get there. Recently, our family found out that we needed to move because the house that we're renting is being sold. And so for a few days, I was just in complete frozen, panic-stricken, oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do mode? And then the decisive action was go to open houses, go look at places. And, we were able to come to a resolution very quickly because we took that action instead of just wallowing in what are we going to do.
Fantastic. It's so concrete and helpful. Just taking that first step. And again, the modeling you're doing for your own kids is fantastic. So when they feel stuck or in the what if, you modeled for them. So it's fantastic. Now tell us about these happy endeavors.
Yeah. So there's that state of flow that we can get into, right? Where we lose track of time and we're sort of in a zone of not even noticing what's going on. And I think for each of us, those zones are very different. But perhaps for many parents, playing with our kids, at least in an activity that we also enjoy, or cuddling with them, or doing something for yourself, like taking a walk or swimming or whatever, is something that you can really lose yourself in. And I find that that's another great way to counter all the spiraling anxiety thoughts, is to find an activity that distracts you from them and that can help you get a clearer head to be able to sort out whatever problems or issues you're dealing with after you come out of the state of flow in a happy activity.
Yeah, that makes sense because we're going out of our head and into our body when we're doing activity.
Yes.
And really stopping all those thoughts for a little bit and allowing energy and breath and fun to come in. What is one real life parenting tool that works for you and your family?
The probably number one tool that has helped my husband and I survive the early days of parenthood and working parenthood has been a concept that we call the Saturday basket and our Saturday meetings. Every Saturday night, my husband and I sit down on the couch after the kids go to bed, hot date with this basket full of stuff and our computers and maybe a glass of wine. What happens on Saturday nights is, first of all, we use this basket into which we put everything during the week that we don't want to deal with during the week. The bills, the permission slips, all the stuff that piles up. And we go through that and sort through it. And then we have a Saturday meeting where we do things like plan out who is on point which day of the week if a child were to get sick, for example, because we both work. We plan out a time when he can go see his friends during the month and when I can go see my friends during the month. We plan out a date night. We look at finances and whatever. And it's been a really fantastic way of consolidating the chaos of our home.
Again, very strategic and very helpful. Not a lot of time, but the fact that you're doing it consistently. At Parenting Power, we're a real fan of family meetings consistently. So what works for the family, whether it's once a week or once every 2 weeks, just to eventually involve the children in their planning and, again, teaching and modeling the kids. So it sounds like you've got a strategy that, again, you can incorporate your children sooner than later for that. That's fantastic.
It's a great idea to one day have one that involves our kids as well. When they're tiny, they're not such productive participants, perhaps. But now that our kids are 6 and 8, they could definitely contribute to such a meeting. Yeah.
And one of the things that I love about the fact that you do it so regularly is that consistency, because I was talking with a parent the other day who's feeling so overwhelmed about stuff that she keeps pushing it farther and farther away. She doesn't really want to talk about it. So we'll do it after we get back from this, or we'll do it later, and it doesn't get talked about. Whereas if things are going into that basket and you know that we hit this basket once a week, then it doesn't make you feel bad to defer it to that time because you know you will get to it. And also, because you swallow the hard stuff on a consistent basis, it never gets to the place where it feels overwhelming. It sounds like a really great system.
Thank you. Yeah, we really notice in the rare times when we skip a meeting, right, because we're traveling or whatever, like, oh my gosh, I can tell we didn't have our meeting last week. So yeah, it's become a fixture in our lives.
Right. And again, I'm sure you'll get to that point with your kids because, Lori, I have the exact same feeling. And I'll often say to my husband, Dave, I can tell we didn't have our family meeting today. The week just doesn't go as smoothly. Lori, this conversation has given us lots to think about. If listeners want to find out more information from you, where's the best place for them to follow you?
So they can check out my website at www.mindfulreturn.com. And I am on Twitter at mindfulreturn. I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/mindfulreturn. You can find me on LinkedIn as well.
It's been so great to learn these strategies and to make a connection with you, Lori, and we look forward to learning more from you over time.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Gail.
Thank you.
To learn more about Parenting Power, check out our website, parentingpower.ca, visit our Facebook page, or follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Parenting Power.